Alright, man. So you're sitting there wondering, does she like me? Or am I just overthinking this? Trust me, we've all been there. It's like trying to figure out a movie plot when you missed the first 20 minutes, confusing as hell. But don't worry, I've been through this a bunch of times, so let's break it down, friend to friend. Girls? They're tricky sometimes, but not impossible to figure out. They drop these little hints, some obvious, some not so obvious, that can tell you exactly what's going on. You just have to know where to look. And no, it's not all in the dramatic stuff. Most of it's in the small details. You know, like those tiny gestures or comments that feel random but actually mean something. So, let's get into it. By the time we're done here, you'll be a pro at spotting the signs. But here's the thing, this whole does she like me thing doesn't have to be as complicated as it seems. It's really just about tuning into the little things, the small details that, in a way, kind of reveal how she's feeling. It's like they leave these breadcrumbs, and whether they do it on purpose or not, those little signs are there if you just know where to look. Some are so subtle you might blink and miss them, while others are so obvious you'll wonder how you didn't notice them before. So, instead of getting stuck in your head and overanalyzing every look, word, or text, let's break this down. These 15 signs are, like, little hints she drops, sometimes accidentally, sometimes not, that can give you a pretty clear idea of whether she's into you. Some are straightforward and easy to catch, while others, well, they might need you to think a bit more about what's going on under the surface. Either way, once you start noticing them, they'll make a lot more sense. 1. Her crew knows all about you.
Yes, she does. She likes you, she told me.
Now, here's the thing, if a girl's into you, odds are, her friends and family already know way more about you than you think. Seriously, women tend to talk about this stuff all the time with the people closest to them. So, if you find out she's mentioned your name to her friends, or they seem to already know who you are when you meet them, that's a pretty big sign. And it's not just that she mentions you, it's how she does it, too. Like, if she's chatting with her friends while you're around, or she's picking up calls and doesn't step away to take them, that's kind of her way of saying, hey, this guy matters enough for me to not pretend he doesn't exist right now. Now, if she actually invites you to meet her friends, that's a whole other level of interest. It's like her way of saying, I think you're worth knowing, and she probably wants to see what her crew thinks of you, too. Oh, and if she takes things even further and you're suddenly meeting her siblings or parents, well, there you go, that's a solid sign she's seeing you as more than just some casual guy in her life. In a way, girls are kind of protective of their inner circles. So, if she's letting you into that space, it means she's pretty comfortable with you being there. It's not exactly something they do on a whim. And sometimes, without even realizing it, her friends or family might give away how she feels about you. Like, they might tease her when you're around or drop little hints about stuff she said. Pay attention to those moments, they're often really telling. So, what does it all mean? Look, no single sign is going to give you a perfect, 100% answer on its own. But when you start piecing together a few of these clues, it's like the bigger picture starts to come into focus. In this case, if her friends and family know about you and seem to already be in on the situation, that's a pretty solid indicator that you're not just some random person in her life. And, just a little tip here, if you do get the chance to meet her friends or family, try to make a good impression. Not in a fake or over-the-top kind of way, but just by being yourself and showing that you're genuinely interested in getting to know them. A lot of the time, what they think about you can play a big role in how things progress between you and her. Alright, that's just the first sign, but don't worry, there's plenty more to cover. Some will be super obvious, while others might take a bit of decoding. The key is just to stay chill, pay attention, and don't overthink every little thing. It's more about the patterns and overall vibe than any one specific moment. What's next? Let's get into more of those little signs she's into you, and maybe by the time we're done here, you'll have a much clearer picture of what's going on. 2. she switches things around just to spend time with you.
Can't wait to meet him?
Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting. If a girl really likes you, she's going to make time for you, period. Like, even if her schedule is totally packed, with work or school or a million other things, she'll still find a way to fit you in. It's not about her magically having extra hours in the day. It's more about what, or rather who, she prioritizes. For instance, let's say you two have a dinner planned, and then, boom, something important comes up for her. A girl who's interested in you isn't just going to leave you hanging. She's probably going to suggest another day or time because, well, she wants to see you. And it's not just about the logistics of rescheduling. It's about the fact that she wants to make it happen. Now, flip that around for a second. If she's not really feeling it, she'll probably go with the old "I'm super busy" excuse. You know the one, lots of vague reasons why she can't meet up and no real effort to work something out. But a girl who likes you, oh, she'll shift her plans, even if it means cutting down on sleep or squeezing you in between other things. It's a big clue, honestly, because time is one of those things people don't give away lightly. So, the next time she says something like, "I had to move a few things around, but I can meet you at 7, just know that she's showing you, in her own way, that you're worth the effort. It's not about what she says, it's what she's doing that really matters here. 3. She's doing the heavy lifting in conversations. Alright, let's talk about the way she communicates with you, whether it's in person, over text, or even on calls. By the way, if you want to write in such a way that she always responds to your messages, watch the video texting tips for guys, 5 messages she can't resist attached in the upper right corner. So, a girl who's into you is going to keep the conversation alive, like, she'll actively try to keep it going. It's not just about replying, it's about how she replies. For example, if you say something like, "How was your day?" and she responds with a one-word answer like, "Good," and leaves it at that, well, that's not exactly a good sign. On the other hand, if she's giving you a whole rundown of her day, asking follow-up questions, or even dropping little side stories, it's because she's trying to engage with you. And texting? Oh, that's a whole other level. If she's texting back pretty quickly, or better yet, if she's the one starting the conversation sometimes, that's a solid sign she's thinking about you. And you know those moments when you forget to text back, because let's be real, we all do it sometimes. And she follows up with a casual "Hey, what's up?" That's her making sure the connection doesn't fizzle out. A girl who's interested isn't going to let the conversation die. She's putting in the effort because, in a way, she wants to keep that little thread between you two alive. It's like her way of saying, "Hey, I enjoy talking to you, and I don't want this to stop." So, if you're seeing her do this, you're probably on her mind way more than you realize. 4. She's like your personal cheerleader.
She does love me.
Alright, this one's actually pretty sweet. If a girl likes you, she'll go out of her way to make you feel good about yourself. It's not just about throwing compliments your way, it's more about the little things she does to boost your confidence or brighten your day. For example, maybe you're hanging out, and she says something like, "Wow, you're really good at this," whether it's a video game, cooking, or literally anything you're doing. She's not just being nice, she's paying attention to what makes you tick and letting you know she sees it. Or let's say she sends you a random selfie, paired with something like, "Hope this makes your day better." It's not exactly subtle, is it? These kinds of gestures, while they might seem small, actually show how much she's invested in making you happy. People don't really go out of their way like this unless they care, you know? And it's not just about the compliments or selfies, it's the thought behind them. She's noticing you, thinking about you, and finding ways to show she cares, even in the little things. And, let's be real, it feels pretty amazing when someone takes the time to lift you up. Whether it's a quick pep talk, a compliment, or just a simple "you've got this," it shows she's rooting for you. It's not just about making you feel good in the moment, it's her way of saying, "I like you, and I care about how you feel." So, to sum it all up, if she's rearranging her schedule, keeping conversations alive, and doing her best to make you feel like $1,000,000, chances are, she's into you. But don't just focus on one thing, look at the whole picture. Each of these little signs is like a puzzle piece, and together, they can give you a pretty good idea of where you stand. 5. She's acting a little awkward around you.
She's shy.
Alright, so here's the thing. Sometimes when a girl likes you, she might seem a little, well, off. Not in a bad way, but more like she's nervous and doesn't quite know what to do with herself. And here's where it gets tricky. Most guys can't tell the difference between she's shy because she likes me and she's uncomfortable and wants to leave. The signs can be super subtle, but once you know what to look for, it's a lot easier to figure out. For example, if she's fidgeting a lot, like playing with her hair, touching her face, or messing with her hands, she's probably feeling nervous. And nervous doesn't mean bad. It might just mean she's into you and isn't quite sure how to act. You might notice she's avoiding eye contact or looking down, but again, that's not necessarily a sign of disinterest. In fact, she could be overthinking everything and worrying about how she's coming across. Sometimes, her nervousness shows up in how much she talks, or doesn't talk. She might suddenly get chatty, rambling about the most random things just to fill the silence. Or, she could clam up completely because she's worried about saying the wrong thing. Either way, the key here is to make her feel comfortable. Crack a joke, ask her something fun and light, or just let her know you're happy to hang out. When she starts to feel at ease, you'll notice her opening up more. 6. Her body language is practically giving her away. Here's another big one, body language. It's one of those things that's hard to fake, so if you're paying attention, it can tell you a lot about how she feels. For starters, if she's really into you, she's probably turning her whole body toward you when you're talking. It's like her way of saying, "Hey, you've got my full attention." And if she's finding little excuses to touch you, like brushing your arm when she laughs or sitting close enough that your knees bump, that's a pretty strong signal she's interested. Even the small stuff, like where she places her hands, can mean something. If her hand is close to yours, she might be hoping you'll notice and make a move. And here's the thing, if she's into you, she's not going to pull away when you lean in a little closer or give her a hug. She's probably not going to recoil or act weird about physical contact, which is a big hint that she's comfortable with you being in her space. But, and this is super important, you've got to be respectful of her boundaries. If she seems stiff or hesitant, back off a bit and let her come to you at her own pace. You don't want things to get awkward because you misread the situation or push too hard. The goal is to make her feel relaxed and safe, so pay attention to her reactions and adjust accordingly. 7. She remembers the little things about you. Now, this one's a bit more subtle, but it's a huge sign she's into you. She remembers stuff you've told her. And I'm not just talking about the big, obvious things like your birthday or favorite band. I mean the little, random things that most people would forget. For instance, if you told her about a funny story from work or some random thing you love to eat, and she brings it up later, that's a sign she's been paying attention. Maybe she teases you about something you mentioned days ago or asks how that big meeting went. That's her way of showing she's invested in what's going on with you. And it's not just about remembering, it's about caring. If she knows you've got a big deadline or something important coming up, she might wish you luck or even give you some space so you can focus. It's her way of being thoughtful without making a big deal out of it. And honestly, that's one of the sweetest things someone can do. When a girl remembers these details, it's because, in her mind, you're worth remembering. It's not just small talk or politeness, it's genuine interest. So, if she's doing this, take note. It's one of the clearest signs that she's into you on a deeper level. Want more signs? Stick around! Alright, so there you have it, 7 signs that a girl might be into you. But trust me, there's a lot more to this list, and the next batch of tips is just as good, if not better. If you're curious about what's coming next, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out. Oh, and while you're waiting, check out our video, 14 Signs That Your Partner is Emotionally Attached to You, Emotional Connection Check. It's packed with insights that'll give you even more clarity on relationships. Good luck out there, and remember, confidence and kindness go a long way.